We are in the month of Tevet, and as our usual custom, every month we do a class talking about the month itself and what is the spiritual and self-growth work that one wants to do on themselves during this month. As we spoke so many times, every month has a certain energy, and every month has a certain sense that we have to work on and to rectify it. After all, the point why we're in this world is to do a tikkun, to do a rectification. We didn't come here for any other reason but to do a tikkun nefesh, to do a rectification for the nefesh. So before we start, we want to dedicate quickly the class to Shira Yael Bat Liora Sarah, who is in critical condition, and also her baby, the Tinok Ben Liora Sarah. Should both have a miraculous recovery, and Bezrat Hashem, going out of the holiday of Hanukkah, so we should continue seeing miracles. And Bezrat Hashem should bemet have a miraculous recovery for her and anybody else that was hit in that attack. So the month of Tevet is considered in Judaism one of the 3 hard months of the year. It says in the Zohar, in Parashat Shmot, that when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, then his mother, Yocheved, hid him for 3 months. V'tatzpinehu leshlosha chodashim. It doesn't say the word chodashim, rather yerachim. She hid him for 3 moons. The Zohar asks, what are these 3 moons that it's referring to? It's referring to 3 months of the year, Tevet, Tammuz, and Av, that the Shekhinah doesn't protect us, that we don't have protection from the feminine aspect of the divine. So these are considered 3 hard months for the Jews in the year. We also see that each one of these months we have a fast. We're going to have the fast of Asara B'Tevet next week. And Tammuz we have Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, and Av we have Tisha B'Av. So this is a month of din, of judgment. In general, there are negative forces are empowered in this month. Besides that, we start the month with the holiday of Hanukkah. There's no other holidays in this month. And this month, what represents the emotion and the power of this month is anger and stress. This is not a...
Thank you.
It's, but today we're going to learn how to let go of the anger. Don't get upset. Don't get upset. See, don't be stressed. Listen, everything that is negative is good because it has the potential to be transformed. So first let's start with don't get upset. It's a month of anger, din, judgment, stress, but the good side of it, that anything that is in darkness, that is in the negative side, if you do the right tikkun, the right rectification, you can actually transform it to something that initially would not be able to. So in order to produce light, we have to have first darkness. Because if you have already light, then you can't reproduce the light, so to say. Or a better way to explain it, if you take now a candle, a little candle with a flame, take it out now to a sunny day on the street, would you see the light of the candle? No, the light of the day is much more powerful. But take the same candle, go into a dark room, into a closed basement, suddenly the candle lit up the entire darkness. So in order to really show the light, first has to be a state of darkness. Look how the world was created. V'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom. The first Hashem created the world with chaos and with darkness, and then Hashem brought out the light. So even though the month is full of judgments and anger and stress, nevertheless, don't stress, rather, because we can see the potential here, how we can take something so negative and transform it into something positive. The advantage of judgment is that when we transform it, we can transform it to something that we all need, and not only that, that's the only way how to receive it. This is called rachamim, mercy. So in order to receive mercy, to receive rachamim, which corresponds to the Sfira of Tiferet, has to be judgment. from chesed you can't transform chesed to rachamim. So we want rachamim. Rachamim is mercy and the showing of the love of Hashem. Yes, and you can't transform chesed into rachamim. You can only transform a din into rachamim, judgment into mercy. So it's also again good. Now the idea behind the month of Tevet is it's called tikkun hadin, the rectification of the judgment, and the result is to transform it to something good. Now we're going to go through it and see how and what we need to do and what we need to focus on. So first of all, look at the Hebrew letters of Tevet, Tet, Bet, and Taf, how you write it Tevet. It's almost equivalent to another word in Hebrew, just that we're missing a letter, and the word in Hebrew is Tovot. Tovot is good and kindness. We're just missing the Vav. The Vav, of course, of the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. So if you write the word Tovot, good and kindness in Hebrew, you would write it with a Vav, but here it's written, if you would want to, you can also write it the same way without the Vav, just with a pronunciation or the dot that is called Cholam Chaser, a dot that is missing a Vav. But nevertheless, Tevet and Tovot is the same letters. So, which means that as much as it's harsh, then there's the greatest potential to change it into something good. And here is just as a side note, when you see an individual that has a lot of bad qualities or a lot of bad midot, that doesn't mean the person is bad, it means the person has amazing potential. The more the person comes out as something negative, then it's very easy to say that person is very angry, he's very cheap, he's very mean, he's very whatever. But the more the person, the attributes, the midot are negative, then the potential is greater to take something and make something amazing out of it. And you can see it with your own eyes with many people in our generation that become great people after they do tshuva. Look where they came from. Came from very bad places. I mean, I have friends that Hashem Erachem where they came from. I have a friend who wanted to do once a video of me and him and another two, where we came from and where we are. One of them was a mafia guy. He was in action in the mafia. You see him now like this. You don't think he's with a beard and a yarmulke. The other guy was a gang member. There's not even 1 inch on his body without tattoos. And we're all. I mean, we wanted to take a picture of all of us before how we look, and then how we're all now with beards. And so you've seen many times that something that is extreme negative. Don't judge it right away to disqualify it. Rather, look at how much potential could be in there. So the month of Tevet is the opportunity of taking something real negative and changing it to something positive. Not so important to know, but the sign is the sign of Gdi. This is the element of earth. And element of earth is representing physicality. Because Gdi is Capricorn. So we're not going to talk necessarily today about the sign, but the reason why I want to emphasize is because the sign of Capricorn is connected to the element of earth, and earth is very heavy. Heavy is representing the physicality, something low, something that is sad. Any person, first of all, the people who are born in the Capricorn month, then they have a tendency for sadness and depression and anger and loneliness and isolation and so forth. Doesn't mean something wrong. I'm just saying that's what there's a tendency to. Bechlal, any person that will be very busy with the physical world is subject to fall into one of these emotions. If a person is very into their looks and very into how they're dressed and how everything looks and all the physical pleasures, they're bound to fall into sadness, depression, anger, feelings of isolations and so forth. Because the power of the element of earth, of afar, is to bring somebody down. Now the more you empower that element, the more it will bring you down. So people think that if they dress nice all day long and they look nice and all day long the nails and the hair and the lipstick and all this, there's nothing wrong. You can look nice, but all day long. And the car needs to be beautiful and this and the new iPhone. And then you think that it gives you all sorts of happiness and gratification, but it actually does the complete opposite and it pulls you more down. So now the iPhone is not so great because a new one came out. Or you get a beautiful car and the next day a little scratch on the back that drives you insane. So the more you feed the element of of earth, the more it pulls you down. It's kind of like a catch-22. Now, we always talk about the sense of the month, the emotion, which of course this month is anger. And anger can be a very, very negative thing. As we know that our sages tell us that the anger, it removes the soul from the body. If a person is angry, he goes into a mode of anger, just know that in that moment you lost your soul. The soul cannot stay in the body when you lose your anger. Every person that is angry, the soul gets removed from the body. It's almost like, this is my analogy. Imagine now the president is coming to some rally or some show and then starts violence. Right away they take the president out. All the bodyguards jump on him and they take him out. Let the violence stay, but first to get the president out. Same idea. You get angry, right away the soul is being removed from the body.
I thought the body soul never leaves us, no matter what.
No, there's always stays a spark in the body. That's no doubt. The thing is that if you want to already compare that, if a person now does a severe sin, the soul leaves the body. This is called karet. The soul gets, but there's always going to be a spark in the body to enliven the body. This is something that Arizal is talking about. How can it be that if a person does a severe sin right now, the soul gets chopped off, the soul gets removed from the body? How does the body is alive? The Arizal says that a spark from the nefesh stays in the body, and the person can live 30, 40, 50 years, but the soul is not in the body. This is an empty body. So when a person is upset, the soul is removed from the body. This is called also siluk shchina. The place where there's anger, the shchina cannot dwell there. Take now a beautiful holy shul, and there's going to be an argument there, a fight, and there's going to be a lot of anger. The shchina is removed from there. The shchina cannot dwell anywhere where there's chaos. This is very, very, very severe. You know, our sages say in the Talmud in Tractate Shabbat, kol hakoes kilo oved avodah zarah. A person that he's angry is like as if he's doing idol worship. So anger is a very, very severe sin. It's it's actually a sin, by the way, and people think it's just an attribute or an emotion. It's a sin. You're not allowed to anger. Why? Because you're an idol worshiper.
You don't believe what the sense is right.
Exactly, yeah. Now,
righteous indignation.
Excuse me?
Righteous indignation when there's injustice.
Oh, now let's see where you can use anger for something positive. If Hashem created anger, must be that you can use it for something positive. Because Hashem created so many different things. Anger, stress, jealousy, animosity, hate. Hashem created everything. Which means that if Hashem created anger, you have to use the anger for something positive. If Hashem created hate, you have to use the hate for something positive. Not to hate me, rather to hate the Yetzer Hara or your actions. The only thing that Hashem didn't create, and this is a famous quote by Rabbi Nachman from Breslev, En Yeush Ba'olam. Hashem didn't create despair. This is the fakeness. This is where the Yetzer Hara is trying to sell you a product that doesn't exist. And he tells you, fall to despair. And that's where Rabbi Nachman comes and says, En Yeush Ba'olam. The product doesn't belong in our factory. We don't have such a thing. It's the Yetzer Hara manipulating you and showing you here, fall into despair, and you buy the product like that. But nevertheless, let's concentrate on our topic, and we'll see why the anger can be used for something positive. But first, we have to understand that anger can be used for something negative. Everything in this world can be used for something positive and negative. Take the internet, for example. You use it in the right way, it's going to be the most positive and productive thing. You can put a video now online and 50,000 people will see the video. But then again, take the internet and it can be the most destructive tool in the world. So it will take nuclear power. It can create chas v'shalom a bomb and destroy 3 million people, and take nuclear power, and you can save resources of the earth and power a whole city. So the tikkun here with this anger is not to take the negative side of it. We all have anger, and if you or anyone thinks that no, I have no anger, then you live in denial. We all have anger, and most people on the outside in the street, they hold themselves, but when there's not a lot of people around them, then the anger is out of control. And you can look at some people in the street and they look to you very nice and calm, and go to their house and put a candid camera. You'll see how they may behave when they get angry. So, and we all have anger. One is out of control, one is completely out of control. But all you need is somebody to press the wrong button, and the anger will come out. The idea here is not to look at the negative side of the anger, is rather to see what's the rectification of the anger. And the way to rectify or to remove the anger is not to push the anger away. You can't fight the anger. Something will anger you, and I'm not talking about that something that is a moment of anger. Sometimes something happens in your life, and you're angry for a month, or for a day, or for a week, or years. Some people, they're angry for a year, and for whole their life. The point is that you can't push the anger away. This is not the tikkun of anger. Rather, is to change it in its root. You can't, if you now make me angry for whatever, you told me you're going to come and pick me up at 4, and you were late for an hour, and I lost a big meeting or whatever, and I'm angry at you. So I can calm myself down, but that's not doing a rectification of the anger. I'm just calming myself down. Tomorrow somebody else will anger me for something else. The tikkun of the anger is to go to its root, to go to its source, and to transform it over there. Then you're not angry over here. Anger is not an easy thing to work on, but it's something that we all have to. Now, how do you start working on fixing the anger in its root? The Talmud says in Tractate Brachot, page 8, Le'olam yargiz adam yetzer tov al yetzer hara. Always you have to take your anger and to throw your anger on the yetzer hara. The yetzer hara is coming to make you sin all day long. The yetzer hara is the troublemaker. So take all your anger and throw it at him. Don't be upset at somebody else. We throw your anger at the yetzer hara. Now, do I fight my yetzer hara? The question is no. You don't fight your yetzer hara, because if you start a fight with yetzer hara, he's going to demolish you within seconds. If you think you can fight your yetzer hara, then there's no such a thing. The only one who was able to fight the yetzer hara was Yaakov, which we read 2 weeks ago, that he fought the angel of Esav. The angel of Esav, Malach HaMavet, he's the yetzer hara. If you think you can fight the yetzer hara, you're putting yourself in a big problem, because your yetzer hara is 1,000,000 times more stronger than you. The fact that we're able to do a mitzvah, it's because Hashem has mercy on us, and He allows the yetzer hara to take a moment of a break. And the yetzer hara has a gauge, and Hashem turns it up to full volume, half power. If Hashem turns the power, full power, you can't stand it for 1 second. So the point is not to fight the yetzer hara. That's why the Talmud says, the Talmud doesn't say fight the yetzer hara, it says lehargiz yetzer hara. Make the yetzer hara angry, or annoy the yetzer hara. How do you make the yetzer hara angry? Very, very simple. You don't fight the negative, you don't empower the negative, and you don't fight the yetzer hara. You empower the positive. That's how you bother the yetzer hara. The yetzer hara is coming to bother you, then you have to empower what's positive in you. You have to elevate yourself. Now, if I'm weak in anger, if my weakness is anger, if my weakness is to be judgmental, if my weakness is jealousy, whatever, I have to be aware of what my weaknesses are. If you're not aware of your weakness, then you have a still long way for your self-growth. I can look in the mirror. It doesn't have to be physically looking in the mirror. I'm looking in the mirror, I'm looking at myself. And I can right away tell you, I am good at this, I'm amazing at that, and I'm bad here. If you don't know how to do this self-assessment, or this introspection of yourself, you'll never grow spiritually. So you need to look at yourself and say, I'm an amazing chef. I am an unbelievable father. I'm a great writer. I'm an amazing whatever. and I'm very, very kind, and I'm very quick to forgive. And yeah, you can give yourself a lot of credit points. You can go through the list and mark check a lot of V's and saying I'm good at this and good at that. But don't forget that right away I have to say, but you know what, I'm very lazy, and I'm very quick to anger, and I judge people just like that. And you have to do this once in a while. The Ramchal actually says you have to do it every day in Mesilat Yesharim. And he says you have to once a day do this cheshbon nefesh. It's called introspection of yourself. That I look at myself. Baal HaTanya says the best time to do it is in Kriyat Shema Lamita. You take 5 minutes out of your day, 10 minutes out of your day, at the end of the day, you do tshuva and you analyze your day. Was I right in this encounter with this person? Not really. Was I right how I blew up at that person? No. And you make yourself an account. So when you know what you're good at, just empower that. If I'm very, very kind, if I know that I'm kind, don't think that I don't want to be kind to people. People use me. No, take this kindness and empower that. Whatever it is that you're good at, that's how you annoy the Yetzer Hara, is that you empower your good. You can't diminish or overpower the bad. So just increase in good. Now, the reason to do that is because the way that I'm increasing in good is that I'm elevating myself to a higher level. If I now know that I'm very good with patience, or I'm very good with listening, and people need a listening ear. Sometimes somebody calls you, they just need to talk for 20 minutes, so let it all go. If I know that that's what I'm good at, and I'm just throwing examples, you use your own imagination of your own virtues, then when I do that, when I take out of my time and I listen to somebody else's problem, what am I doing here? I'm elevating myself. I'm helping you, but I'm really helping myself. I'm elevating myself to a higher level. Now, there's a rule that it says, במקום שאין דין למטה, אין דין למעלה. In a place where there's din, where there's judgment below, there's no judgment above. What does that mean? That if I'm doing negative things, I lie, I cheat, I slander, I judge people and so forth, there's a judgment against me right on that spot. If I now go and I say a lie about somebody, I go and gossip about somebody, I go and I plan, I don't like this guy, I'm going to do something to hurt him, or whatever it is, or I'm looking at a person who's driving with his nice new Mercedes, look at that guy, he must be a thief. He must be a crook. Where he has this money from. The second that I have some type of a negative feeling in any way, right away there's a judgment against me. Right away there's a prosecution in the heavenly court. How he dares to think about that person. How did he dare talk about this person? How did he dare do that? There's a prosecution. It's called din. Right away midat din prosecutes. Now, when there's a din, the judgment in the world above, then there's going to be a problem in the world below. Don't forget that a lot of the things that we go through is because we bring it on ourselves. But our sages teach us that when there's a judgment in the world below, then you remove the judgment from the world above. Now how do you remove the judgment from the world above? Is when you do a judgment in the world below. When you're taking... Excuse me? No, if you catch yourself in the beginning, then there's not a problem. If you walk in the street and you look in a situation and the first 2-3 seconds starts coming thoughts of being judgmental, and you right away stop yourself, no problem, lefech, then you did your job right. I heard once from a great rabbi, it was a talk for men, and the topic of the conversation was about, men should not look in the wrong and the not appropriate places. I can't talk, let's say, and if women do it, I was never a woman, but men, they see an attractive woman, they look right away. And unfortunately, right away, the mind starts working overtime. And this is a sin. You can't go after your heart and after your eyes. So the whole talk was about that topic, not to look at the wrong places and guard your eyes. So a man asked something similar. Because he was saying how if a man looks at a woman in the street, he sees a woman, she's not modest, he starts looking at her, right away the mind starts taking him to some beach in Cancun, and whatever he starts thinking of, and then you have to stop your thoughts. So a young man said, what if I see a woman, and she's very attractive and very not modest, and I look at her, but after 2 seconds I catch myself and I stop looking. Is it still a sin or not? So the rabbi gave him a very good answer. He said, you know when it's a sin? When you go like that. So, because the young man said, but she's right in front of me. What do you want me to do? So he says, the sin is when you turn around. So, same thing here. We are constantly going to be triggered. There's going to be a situation, somebody comes and tells you, did you hear what so-and-so did? What? And then you can't wait to hear what he did, and then you're like, no, I'm really, I don't want to hear the Lashon Hara. It's just not me, it's fine. And your Yetzer Hara, no, but you want to hear, it's so juicy, you can't even believe. But he said so-and-so, and so as long as you stop it right away, then you're good. Then it's not yours. The Baal Shem Tov says, the first few seconds, the thought is not your thought. The second that you took that thought and you started developing it, that's already your thought. So we're constantly going to be thrown in us thoughts and visions, and you think of this person, as long as you right away pull down a screen, you say, but no, then it's not your thought. But once you start feeding it, sorry to tell you, you earned it. It's yours. So that's a great work, is how do you control your thoughts? You can't control your thoughts, but you can remove the thoughts. So comes now a bad thought into your mind, then you can't control that thought, so you bring a new thought into the mind. Rabbi Nachman from Breslov says, you can't think of two things at the same time. So if I'm now looking at a person and right away arouses in me feelings and thoughts of being judgmental or jealousy, then start thinking of something else right away. Whatever it is. And now you're busy with a new thought, so the negative thought is being pushed away. So we want to concentrate on how do I elevate myself, how do I remove the judgment from the world above, is when I create judgment in the world below. And that's the only way of doing it, is doing this daily introspection. Like I said, the Ramchal, he says in the book Mesilat Yesharim, one should do it once a day. And I added on that, the Baal HaTanya says, best to do that at the end of the day, at the time of Kriyat Shema al Hamitah. That you take 5 minutes and you judge yourself. And you bring on yourself this judgment. Why? Because when there's a judgment below, you remove the judgment above. You sit there with yourself, just to make an example, and you say, today at 2:42, I had a conversation, an encounter with so-and-so. And he really got me upset, because he told me that he's earning now double that I am, and I got so jealous and so upset. It's not fair. I also want to earn a lot of money because I really want to buy myself a nice car and whatever. And because of my jealousy, I had to say something like a not nice remark. That's how you do this self-assessment, this introspection, because you telling yourself, who am I kidding? I was disgusting in this encounter. And in the morning when I talked to so-and-so, it was not nice how I talked to that person. And when you do that, first of all, you're really realizing when you are failing. There's nothing wrong with looking at yourself and being a little bit harsh on yourself. Now, this is a very fine line. Don't take my words and say it's good to put yourself down. This is not what I'm talking about. This is not a self-bashing system. You have to do that in a very smart way.
It's like an accurate assessment instead of just...
100%. You have to look at yourself and say, who am I kidding? I do that not once a day. I do it 20 times a day. I do it every time I have an encounter. If the encounter, because it's usually between me and another person, it's not me and myself. If I have an encounter right now and everything turned out good, nice goodbye, fine. But if in the encounter I felt something was not right, I right away will review, what did I say? Could have said it better? Could have said it in a nicer way? Maybe I should have given another minute of attention to this individual. Maybe it was not nice of me to right away cut him off. The other day, perfect example, that we had a guest here, and I was talking to her, and somebody else came who really needed me, and I cut her off. I told her, I can't talk right now, and I'll catch up with you later. And I ran down to attend the other person because I knew the other person needed something from me, and he left. Later on, I thought, I was like, that was so nice how I just cut her just like that. I didn't see that person for a few months. It's a good friend. And right away I texted her. I was very busy. I texted and I said, I'm so sorry. I just cut you off in the conversation and ran out of the room. I really apologize. I mean, thought about it. I was, you know what, I should have said to the other person, give me 1 minute, I'll be with you. The friend says, you know what, I'm so happy to see you. We'll catch up later. This person needs my attention. I said to myself, you know, I could have dealt with it in a totally different way. Instead of just saying, I gotta go. And so sometimes you do something, not because you mean, because it's on the moment. But when you catch yourself a minute later, half an hour later, you're saying, I should have said that way. Now, if you rectified right away, you did amazing. And that's the point here, is that you constantly want to bring a little bit of judgment on yourself, that you judge yourself. Was I right now? Was I reacting the right way? The point of taking it, the way of saying it in an easy way, is to take the blaming finger. Usually the blaming finger is that way. Take the blaming finger and say, you know, it's me. I was the problem here.
They say that if you're pointing one finger this way, there's all these.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, you point like this, then. So, unfortunately, we usually point that way. You're right. Then you have a lot of fingers pointing this way. But the point with this introspection is pointing here. What could I have done better? Where did I do wrong? And that's how you elevate yourself. And by default, the judgment comes down to the world and removed from the world above. Now, when you're thinking about it, because we want to stick with anger, not with anything else, when you're thinking of anger, if you want to analyze where does anger come from, that I didn't get what I want. That's anger. And when you're thinking about it, that's the most childish, immature attitude a person can have. Why do you get angry? Because I didn't get what I want. Try to analyze what else will make you angry. Because you didn't get what you want. This is childish. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feeling when I'm saying childish. I'm just saying it's a very not mature way of thinking. Because anger can, it can come in many different ways. But when you're thinking about it, if you have the attitude that I don't deserve anything anyways, so I don't get angry. Whatever it is, try to analyze it in your mind. I don't want to dwell on this thought too much, but when I try to analyze where does anger come from, is that I'm titling it is that I didn't get what I want, but it can come in many different ways. It means you didn't do what I said. It means that you didn't get what I want, and so forth. Now, how do you really get to a point of true happiness? Is when you say to yourself constantly, I don't deserve anything. And whatever I get, that's a huge bonus. And then you become thankful and full of gratitude. So when I think that I deserve something, maybe I think I deserve respect. And when you don't give me respect, I get angry. Maybe I think that I should be, number one. And when I don't get that, I will get angry. Maybe I think I should be the leader. I should be the top one. I should be the smartest. And I don't get it. I get angry at who? The person who, so to say, took it away from me. So, really, when you're thinking of anger, stop for a second when you get angry and you're saying, why did I get angry right now? Because that person didn't listen to me. Because that person didn't do what I wanted him to do. Because that person didn't give me the respect, the love, the attention. I was pushed aside. It's all about me. Anger is about me. So when you remove the me, when you get to a point of saying, I really don't deserve anything. A lot of people in marriage, for example, what is the number one marriage problem is that people think that the other spouse is serving me. People think my wife has to cook for me and she has to do the laundry for me. No, she's not. Who said, where does it say in any type of a way that my wife is my maid? She's not my maid. And sometimes I have to do the laundry and I have to do the cleaning. But when I come into any type of relationship, when it's not about me, what can I give into the relationship, then I'm not expecting anything. I don't expect my wife to do anything. When you have expectations, then you have great disappointments. So, how do you do the rectification for this anger? If you remember, we spoke many times based on the teaching of the book of Formation, Sefer Yetzirah. Every month has a letter. And the letter that empowers the month of Tevet is the letter Ayin. What's so special about Ayin is that the way to get to a rectification of anger is that I have to see people in a positive way. Ayin is an eye in Hebrew. It's the letter Ayin, but the word eye in Hebrew is Ayin. and I need to know how to look at people. In Hebrew it's called lirot adam be'ayin tova. I have to look at a person in a positive way. Most people, they look at other people and they right away look at the person in a not nice way. That will be with thoughts of anger or being judgmental, jealousy, and so forth. And excuse me?
What about the eye?
Wait, hold on. Let's go through everything. You'll see how powerful the eye is. The eye, yeah, eye. Eye in Hebrew is ayin. No, not I, me, I, the E-Y-E. In Hebrew, I is ayin, and the letter of the month is ayin too. Now, the tikkun, the rectification, is by me looking at another person in a good eye. We're going to explain everything. What does it mean? How do you do it? And so forth. And you want to do that especially when the person is doing something negative, not when they're doing something positive. When somebody's doing something positive, even though many people, they're jealous, so right away they don't see the positive in what that person did, but even when somebody does something negative, you want to look at them in a good eye. Interestingly, in Hebrew, a good eye, I mean in English it doesn't sound well. In English you would more say look at something in a positive way. In Hebrew you say good eye, ayin tova. If you look at it, ayin tova, ayin is the letter of Tevet and tova is the letter of Tevet. Tevet and tova sounds the same. Now, it says in the Mishnah, in Tractate Avot, that Avraham Avinu had a very, the best midah that Avraham Avinu had was ayin tova, and the one who had this opposite attribute was Bil'am, who had ayin ra'ah. Avraham used to look at everybody in a positive way, and Bil'am was the complete opposite, and he looked at everybody in a negative way. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about looking in a positive way about somebody else, because most people, that's a challenge for them, to be able to look at somebody in a positive way, even if it's somebody you like, but nevertheless, we're going to try to emphasize what does it mean to look at somebody in a positive way. How does the eye really look? When you're looking at the idea of the eye, and I'm talking about the eye, the E-Y-E, not the I, the iPhone, and rather the organ, the eye. So the eye has three meanings. First of all, it's an organ. It's a part of my body that it's an organ. The second thing is this organ is the tool to show me the vision of something. I mean, the vision is a very, very broad topic, because I can look at something and I see one thing, and you would look at the exact same thing and see the complete difference. Sometimes you see it with colors, and you can see it with many things. And the third is that ayin in Hebrew, the word ayin is dominating letters of a word in Hebrew called ma'ayan. Ma'ayan, the translation is fountain, but really it's a wellspring. That's a ma'ayan. Now we'll see, I'm talking the eye and my eye itches. So we're going to now try to analyze these three things about the eye. An organ, the way I vision things, and this wellspring, this ma'ayan.
Isn't that three, like there's a dot and then a circle?
Yeah, well, we're not talking about the physical structure of the eye. I'm talking about the three, we'll call it metaphorical explanations of what I can learn from the idea of the eye. Now, eye, when it sees something, then where does you see the connection between the actual eye and the wellspring or the fountain? The eye is a tool, an organ that produces water all the time. It produces tears. This is exactly what a wellspring does. It brings out water constantly. So you already see the beautiful connection between the eye and the wellspring. And later on, once I go through everything, you'll see the beautiful connection. So first we have the eye as an organ, wonderful organ, a very unique organ that most scientists and doctors says is one of the most powerful, rare, sophisticated organs we have in the body, with the eye, how it's built, what it does. But the eye is really the tool that's showing you reality. Imagine we wouldn't have an eye. How would you look at reality? I mean, we are looking at reality through our eyes, but imagine now we would have some type of a group of people that they don't have eyes, chas v'shalom. How would they see the reality? The reality would look completely different. Now we're sharing the same reality, but if you close the eyes and I will tell you now, imagine now we're doing some meditation session, and I tell you all, close your eyes. You all close your eyes, and I tell you all, imagine a beautiful beach. You think the beach will be identical to each and every one of us? You will think of a beach that is with white sand. You will think of a beach with big waves. You would think of a beach full of seals. I mean, the imagination will be completely different. I will tell you, imagine now a field of flowers. You will imagine green flowers, you will imagine blue flowers, you will imagine all the colors of flowers. So the eye is the tool that shows us the reality that is equal to all of us, the same reality. But nevertheless, we see the reality a little bit different. Now, it's not only showing me the reality, it's how I perceive things. The eye allows me to see things and how I perceive things. You need the keys? Now, since we're talking about looking at people in the right way, the eye will allow me to see how I see a person, but also how I judge the person. I mean, this is a little bit more than the vision that I see. If you're looking at like I told you in the beginning, there are 3 levels how I'm explaining the eye. The first one is the actual organ. So the actual organ is how I see the reality. The second one was how I see things and how I perceive it. This is not the organ, because that's already in my mind. The eye is the tool that will bring in the information. But perceiving, that's already how the eye is connected to my mind. And I can look at a person, and it all depends on me how I will judge that person right now. I can judge the person favorably. I can judge the person in a negative way. I can completely ignore. I can be very detailed. What is he doing exactly, every little action? That all depends on me. And this is the second part, how it's showing me, the teachings of Kabbalah will call it the gavan, the tone. Because I can look at a whatever it is, and I can see the difference of tones. I will see the tone as red, you will see the tone as burgundy, and you will see the tone as dark orange. So the idea, and take that analogy, and now we'll see it how we're looking at something. Person A will do a certain action. You would look at it as the most amazing thing. You would look at it as that the person is a phony. You would look at it be like that person is he's full of ego. You will say that person is amazing. We see the same thing, but each one is judging it in a completely different way. This is all depending on me. Now, amazingly, look at the letter Ein, the shape of the letter Ein. And I'm not talking about the script, how you go like that. I'm talking the block letter. So it has a base, and then it has kind of these two antennas, 2 eyes. So it has 2 eyes. Now, teachings of Kabbalah explain that the letter Ein, the letter Ein is kind of like that, right? Then the teachings of Kabbalah explain that the letter Ein is the letter Nun, and on top of it the letter Vav. That's how it is. So you have a Nun and a Vav, which will create an Ein. Now pay attention to that, because in Hebrew everything is much more clearer. When I'm looking at something, I have to right away use my imagination. Without the imagination, the eye will never work. The vision will never work. So look at the letter Ein. What creates the letter Ein? The letters Nun and the letter Vav. If you take these 3 letters, Ein, Nun, and Vav, what's the word that you get? Anav. Humble. And Moshe Rabbeinu, the letter Ein, the letter Nun, the letter Vav. Anav. It says about Moshe Rabbeinu, Vaish haya anav mikol. Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble person ever. Anav means humble. Now, anava, when a person is humble, then the vision of another person is right away positive. If you're looking at another person and you're judging them wrong, with feelings of judgmental, hate, jealousy, and so forth, you can already know that your attribute of anava, there's nothing there. There's no anava there. There's no person. Excuse me? That's my last name, yeah, Anava. So, when a person has the midah of Anava, right away he will judge any person in a positive way. So, this already, we start seeing how the Ein is connected with everything. Now it says I said about Moshe Rabbeinu, Va'ish haya anav mikol, the person was the most humble person ever. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he looked at another person, he didn't try to measure himself by looking at another person. That's really midat anava. I look at another person and I'm trying to measure myself with the other person. I compare myself. Now if that person is way above me, then right away I'll be jealous, I'll resent, I'll hate, I'll judge. Right away, he can't be that he's better than me, so he must be a liar. He must be a fake. He must be a phony. He must be doing something wrong here. And like you said before, my own self-esteem, my own deficiency. Moshe Rabbeinu, why was he so humble? Because he wasn't looking in somebody else to measure himself. You know what most people do? They look at another person and say, oh, that person is a failure. That means I'm so great. And that's what most people look. They're looking to find fault in you so I can be great. And I don't have to be great. And it doesn't mean that I have to be great if you are great. I am great here and I'm horrible here, and you are great here and horrible there. But if we work together, then we bring all our greatness together. So we have to learn from our teacher Moshe. His title is Rabbeinu, our teacher, is to look at another person, not to measure him and comparing to myself. Now, how do you do that when the person is doing bad things? I'm looking now at another person and he's doing bad things. Can you easily not judge that person? Well, the person is a liar. He's taking advantage of this individual. He's hitting, he's molesting, he's whatever. How can he do that to a person who does something bad? So the Mishnah gives us the best example, the best advice. Don't judge a person till you get to his place. If you were in his place, you would be worse. So it's very easy to look at that person and say, look how that person is treating his wife so disgusting. Or look at that person, how he's so pretentious. Well, before you throw your judgment, how would you be if you would be in that situation? Would you be so great if you would be in that situation? Probably not. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu would do. He would look at another person and say, if I was in his place, I would be 10 times worse. It's very easy to say, look at that, the public figure, how he stole money or embezzled money. Oh, well, you wouldn't? They're looking sometimes at a mayor or a minister. He took bribery. Oh, yeah? If you would have a nice big envelope in front of you, you wouldn't take it? Don't think that you're so righteous. How would you react in that situation? So the best way of doing it is when you look somebody doing something bad, very easy to right away pull judgment and say, look at that. It's much harder to say, wait a minute, how would I react if I would be in this situation right now? Probably just the same, if not worse. Maybe not. Maybe I would do much better. But you have to give the person the benefit of the doubt that, maybe I would be reacting in a negative way also. Now, to come to the third part of what I said about the eye, about the ayn, the eye I'm talking about, not the I, me, is when I'm looking at somebody, and I always look at somebody in a positive way, then I'm able to make that person like a wellspring. All the goodness comes out. If I look at you all the time in a negative way, I emphasize the negative, that's what will come out. If you look at a person in a very positive way, he will be like a wellspring and you get all the goodness out. Now, since we're running out of time, let's just continue. Another thing with the ayn, we're stuck on the letter ayn today because this is the ayn, this is the letter, the energy of the month. Ayn has the numerical value of 70. Where do you find 70 in the Torah? So many times we find 70 in the Torah. First of all, the sons of Noach became 70 nations. 70 nations, 70 languages. Very soon, we're now in Parashat Vayigash. Very soon, Yaakov Avinu is coming down to Mitzrayim. How many people came to Mitzrayim? 70 people. You said the elderlies, Moshe Rabbeinu at some point got very upset in the desert. Everybody was demanding meat. Remember that? They went, meat. We want steaks. Moshe Rabbeinu got very upset. Shem appointed for him 70 elderlies. He says, Shivim Zkenim. You have 70 elderlies that are going to serve you. More than that, we know from our sages, when they're trying to interpret the Torah, how many faces the Torah has? Shivim panim la Torah. 70 faces to the Torah. So we take from that there are 70 ways of looking at everything. 70 angles for everything. Can you imagine what a multi-dimensional is? 70 dimensions. Now, very interestingly, look at the letter Ayin. It has kind of a twin in the alphabet. That's the letter Aleph. Most people will say Aleph and Ayin the same way. Ani, ani, ani. Some people will emphasize the Ayin. Oseh. So, but most people when they speak Hebrew, Ayin and Aleph sounds exactly the same. Aleph is the inner meaning of the letter Ayin. Where do we see that? You have the word in Hebrew, or. Or with Ayin, with or is skin. Or with Aleph is light. And if you remember when Adam and Chava sinned, Hashem dressed them, v'albishem bekutnot or. He dressed them with garments of leather, of skin. He gave them skin, he gave them a body. The skin, the Ayin, hovers over the light. The Aleph is the inner meaning of the external part of Ayin. Very interesting here also, because inner in Hebrew means pnim. The word pnim and the word einaim, eyes, they have the same numerical value, 180. So the panim, or pnim is inner, has the numerical value of einaim, of eyes, 180. So the Aleph is the pnimiyut, the inner part, Ayin is the chitzoniyut, the external part. And very interesting, like I said, that how did we start our nation? We start our nation with 70 people. So, going back to Pnim and Enaim is 180. So Pnim means inner, Enaim is eyes, but we just very briefly explained that the Aleph is the Pnimiyut of Ayin. The Pnimiyut means the inner part of Ayin.
Meaning what?
So now we're going to...
Is it representative?
No. I'm going to explain that. I'm just saying that when I gave one example with the word or, how do you see that Aleph is the inner part of Ayin? Is O is leather or skin, and O with Aleph is light. And the skin, what does the skin do? It hovers over the body. It covers the body. It hides the inside. So in the beginning, no, Adam and Chava, they didn't have bodies. They were just a beam of light. They were neshamot. They were souls.
How would they look after the garden?
So this is a mystical explanation. But in the beginning, Adam and Chava didn't have bodies. After they sinned, then Hashem dressed them into bodies. I know Hallmark makes them look like very handsome, and she's very beautiful in blonde hair and eating apples. But that's Hallmark, or whoever invented that. Adam and Eve didn't have bodies. They were souls. They were beaming souls of light. And later on, when they sinned, they got dressed into a body. But that's off the subject. Let's just finish because we're really taking a lot of our time. But the point is that
Why was the fig leaves clothes?
that's the clothes that he dressed them, the fig leaves. But he dressed them with bodies. It says, "Ve'albishem kutnot or." Kutnot is the garment, is the actual clothes, and or is he gave them a body. So, but nevertheless, that's totally off our subject, and we're taking off what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the Ayin Tova, this good eye. And if I have anger, then I have to right away turn the anger to myself. That's the bottom line of it. I know we got so sidetracked in so many things, it's hard to focus on what we were trying to give over. But the point is that we need to focus on what's called Ayin Tova, on the positive eye on seeing things. Now, if I get angry, then I have to get angry with my negative things. I have to take the anger that I have in me, and if I'm lazy, and I know I'm lazy, or I have a tendency to be late, that's something that a lot of people have a problem with. But get angry at yourself. Don't get angry at somebody else. Get yourself that I was late. I caused this problem. I was the one who need to work on myself. Now, you said before about if I have to look at other people or look at myself. We have two eyes. We have a few organs that we have two of them. We have one heart, one brain, and so forth. But we do have a lot of things that come in pairs. Two lungs, two ears, but we have two eyes. You're right. One eye is to look at another person, and the other eye is to look at myself. Based on the teachings of Kabbalah, the right eye is the eye of Chesed, and the left eye is the eye of Gvura. But nevertheless, one eye constantly has to look out, and one eye constantly has to look in. So it's very easy to look out, but most people don't want to look in. I need to look at myself constantly. And when I see something negative or bad in another person, I have to be angry at myself, or more to be more accurate to say, I have to be angry at my Yetzer Hara that is disturbing me to see the good in that person. Because every person has good. I can easily point the bad in every person, and not only me, all of us. It's very easy to look at a person and say so many bad things. That's the easiest thing to do. It's much, much harder to look at any person and says, let's remove the bad for a second. Amazing individual, smart, witty, funny, courteous, generous. So when I see something negative in somebody, I have to right away pull the screen down and start getting upset at the Yetzer Hara. Why are you disturbing me to see the good in this person? You know, sometimes you come to a movie or a lecture and some guy sits in front of you and you're like, I can't see anything. Why you can't see nothing? I mean, I didn't go to a movie for 20 years, but I remember sometimes you go to a movie house and then there's this, sumo wrestler, and you're like, I can't see anything. Can you move a little bit? The Yetzer Hara, sometimes he blocks you. So you look at a person and you don't see the good in the person. You just see the bad. Get upset at the Yetzer Hara that is bothering you to see the good. So to conclude, so we're talking about that the month is a month of dinim, of judgment, of kas, of anger. The way to do the right rectification is that I have to direct the anger somewhere else. I can't remove the anger. Just direct it somewhere else. And the way is to direct it to the Yetzer Hara. Be upset at the Yetzer Hara. And you can direct it completely at you and be angry at yourself when you mess up. Now, not in a negative way that you bash yourself, but the anger needs to be directed that when you fail, you have to have the right analysis to say, guilty. It's very hard to raise your hand and say, I was wrong. But you have to practice it. Now, you don't have to do it in the beginning publicly. Do it with yourself. And if you want to do this introspection once a day, fine. I like doing it 50 times a day in every encounter that I have. And then I can find myself 1 time, 2 times, 10 times to say, I'm guilty. Then right away you can go and rectify it. You can apologize. You can fix the situation. That helps you looking at another person in a very good eye. So another trick how to do it, and there's so much more to talk about in this class, but we're really going so much over our time. How do you really reach to the tikkun in this month? So I explained many times that every month has a planet that has power of energy over the month. The planet that controls the month of Tevet is the planet that is called Shabtai, or in English it's called Saturn. Saturn or Saturn, I don't know pronouncing it the right way. Saturn. But in Hebrew it's called Shabtai. Shabtai is written in Hebrew Shin, Bet, Taf, Aleph, Yud. Remove the last letters, you get the letters Shabbat. Shabbat means Hashbata, stopping. I'm stopping from doing anything. This is Shabbat. The power of the month, the power of the star of the month is to completely stop anything that is negative. How do you do that? But your self-judgment, by this introspection. This is called Din Atzmi. So Shabbat means to stop, to lishbot, to not do anything, no labor, no action, no nothing. Then I have to take this energy. This is a very powerful energy. This is Din, by the way. Din, judgment, or Midat Din, or what is called in the term of Kabbalah, Gvura, people think is a negative thing. It's actually the most positive thing. The teachings of Kabbalah explains that the ultimate chesed of Hashem is Gvura, is to know how to stop. It's very easy to let go. To give, to some people it's hard to give, but for a lot of people it's very easy to give. But to stop, that's much harder. You know how you measure a power of a car? By how fast it can stop. Horsepower, it's how fast it can stop, not how fast it can accelerate. So to accelerate in anger, very easy. To accelerate in anything is easy. Now let's see you blocking or stopping, pressing on the brakes. And if you have very strong brakes, you stop right away. This is the power that you can derive from this man. This is why it's called din. That's why I said in the beginning, din sounds very negative, but it's actually very positive. Take this power, it will allow you to, you want to say something, you didn't say it. You about to judge somebody? No. You pull yourself back. Anything you're about to do, you stop yourself. How do you do that? Din atzmi, you judge yourself. You don't judge anything. It's very easy to judge the entire world. You judge yourself. So the trick here is, how do I do the rectification of anger? Is riyat tov, is that I see good in things. And the only way of doing it is, instead of looking, just imagine now that the vision is, if it's bad this way, it's good this way, then flip it around. Good that way and bad this way. You judge yourself, that's how you're able to bring this tikkun, the tikkun to rectification. This is called ayin tova, a good eye, that I see the good in everything. How do I see the good in everything? Is that I'm able to see the bad in myself. Should have a beautiful, beautiful month. Hopefully a very, very productive month. Even though the month can be very negative, but anything negative can be transformed to something so positive. Bezrat Hashem, if we start developing that, I can guarantee to you that we'll reduce a lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of sinat chinam. Needless to say, we can develop a lot of avat chinam, avat Israel, and that should cause us all to be much, much more happier, definitely much more healthier. And Bezrat Hashem should merit to see the coming of Mashiach with that.